What's up, my fellow Toku nerds and fellow Skylander nerds? Today, we are going to be covering over all the Kamen Riders from Kamen Rider Ryuki and putting them into an Skylanders element and battle class. Now, this video was definitely hard to do because there's so many riders that have a different, abilities and all that. So, I asked my girlfriend Caitlin, which by the way, Caitlin, if you're watching this, I love you so very much. Thank you very much. And it did came down to my final decision on what I think each form is. And I also asked the AI assist to help me out with this video. But ultimately, this is what I decided to go for each Kamen Rider. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, our first Kamen Rider, no surprise, Kamen Rider Ryuki himself. Now, this one is very, very easy. He's a red dragon that breathes fire and is a knight. Fire Knight. No. May I say more? Moving on. His survival form is basically the same. Okay, so the weapon is very unique because it transforms from a blade to a firearm weapon. Caitlin suggested that I should give it the swashbuckler class. Now, with full respect, I can see where she was thinking. But when I think of a swashbuckler, I think of someone that is dual wielding two weapons at the same time, not switching to one weapon. Because you are still using one weapon, you're just changing it into a different one, giving it a different classification. I could see the argument, but ultimately I decided to stick with the Fire Knight element classification, but give it the legendary boost because it's just like an enhancement to the regular Ryuki suit. So that's what I went with. Next is Kamen Rider Knight, aka literal Batman himself in Kamen Rider. No joke, people actually refer to him as the Kamen Rider version of Batman. Funnily enough, his classification is literally Dark Knight. I kid you not. These are the names of the element and battle class. It just so happens that the guy that looks like Batman gets the Dark Knight battle class. I find that very funny. Not gonna lie. So that's what I went with. Next is Knight's survival form, which this one's kind of a little different. It does keep the Dark Knight elements to it. No pun intended. But I'm also giving it the swap air side of things. So, fully it's going to be a dark air swap. But I'm also giving it the legendary boost as I did with Ryuki. So, in total, for Kamen Rider Knight Survive, it is going to be Dark Air Swap Legendary Boost Knight. If you get confused, I apologize. That's just how I structured these type of videos. Next is Kamen Rider Oja. Now, Oja does have a survival form, but that's more on the outsider things of Kamen Rider. It still counts, but at the same time, well, I'm gonna include it regardless, so that's my deal here. Now, for regular Oja, Caitlin suggested that it should be the life element. And I can see why. Snake makes sense. But ultimately, it came down to this. There are two Skylanders that would match up with Oja in a specific way, which are Rowshake and Pit Boss, which both belong in the Undead element. So I decided to go with Undead Sentinel. The Sentinel side is because his main weapon is a cane, even though he's more like a hand-to-hand brawler, which I could have given him that, but because of the weapon being like a cane, I decided to go with Sentinel. So, for Oja, main form, Undead Sentinel. For its survival form, things kind of change up just a little bit. Still keeps the undead side of things, but gains the legendary boost, but switches the weapon into more like the same thing that Ryuki has for his survival form, which is that sword firearm type of weapon, which in that sense is gained the Knight battle class. So, Oja survive, undead legendary Knight. That's what I'm going with for this classification. Now, Zolda. Zolda is, let me explain. Tech Bazooka. Tech because his suit is a lot more mechanical as opposed to the other Ryuki riders. So that's where I got the classification. And then the Bazooker, well, yes, technically he does hold a handheld blaster, which would classify as like a quick shot type of weapon. But because of his mirror monster being a walking tank, if you've seen the finishing final event, you know why. It leaves a big explosion in its wake. So that gave it the Bazooka battle class. So Zolda, Tech Bazooka. Next is the memeable Kamen Rider Scissors. There's a reason why he's memeable, because he's the first rider to die, and he doesn't last long. There's a good reason. If you know why, you know why. So Scissors was kind of tricky. He's a gold crab, and he uses a scissors gauntlet type of weapon, which kind of makes sense given the name. But for this battle class in element classification, I decided to go with War Brawler. War because, well, crabs are usually found more in the beach, and they are more the aquatic animals in this sense. So that's the war element there. And the Brawler class is because of that scissors gauntlet weapon. It just honestly makes sense in that classification, so that's what I went with. Next is Kamen Rider Guy, the bulky rhino of the series. Now, this one was also kind of hard to classify because his main weapon is that rhino horn on his shoulder. So there's really not a specific battle class that would fit that. But ultimately I decided to go with the Earth Brawler classification. The Earth element is because, well, the rhino side is a lot more bulkier in the suit, especially in the shoulder areas, but that's what I went with. And then the Brawler class is because he's a lot more hand-to-hand combat, and one of his, like, auxiliary weapons is like a rhino head fist type of weapon. So that's the classification for Guy. Raya is very unique. He's a magenta manta ray. And this one was kind of hard to like pin down what the classification would be. But Caitlin did bring up a good point. So the element that we agreed upon was war, because, well, the manta ray theme of the suit. And then the battle class is going to be a knight. His weapon is kind of more like a it's kind of like a shield-esque weapon. So ultimately we decided to give it the shield, the knight battle class, because most knights in Skylanders do carry a shield. For instance, Chop Chop. So that's the classification there. If you guys have any thoughts on what I should do for Raya, please let me know in the comments of what you would have done. Next Kamen Rider is going to be Kamen Rider Emperor, with an I, not an E. So it's not Emperor, it's Emperor. Just wanted to get that out of the way. Emperor is unique. I thought he used like a double spear type of weapon, but the videos that me and Caitlin were watching definitely show him as more of a brawler type, like a brawler type fighter. So the battle class is going to be brawler for that. And then the element is going to be life. So Emperor is going to be life brawler, because the antelope does give it that like angelic vibe and is a lot more furry in the suit. So that's what we went with. Next is Kamen Rider Tiger. So Tiger is very unique. Let me tell you the classification. The classification for Tiger is Water Smasher. Smasher because of the axe weapon he has. But the water, hold up, why water? Well, let me explain. Water in Skylanders can be formed into different ways. The water itself, or the sub-ability, Ice, which there are Skylanders in the water elements that have ice abilities. Slam Bam, Chill, Kingpin, all use ice type attacks. So because of that, Tiger, being more of an ice type rider, is going to get the water element. So Tiger is Water Smasher. So there you go. Next Kamen Rider is Kamen Rider Verde, which I believe he is mostly in a movie. Verde was kind of more easier to classify. This one is going to be Life Ninja. Life because of the chameleon aspect and is very much a green suit, very much so. And the ninja is because he's, well, combined with the chameleon aspects, he is able to hide, camouflage himself into his environment, but he's also able to copy others' abilities. So, because of that, we are giving Verde the Life Ninja battle class. The next one is Kamen Rider Femme. Now, there's some good reasons behind Femme. Well, first, Femme is the first female Kamen Rider. Awesome. And this one, I decided to go with Air Light for the element, and then Swashbuckler for the battle class. Air Light swap is because, well, swans, birds, fly, kind of a given. And then the light element is because it gives off the light element. Not only that, the suit is white, so there's that. And then the Swashbuckler class is because, even though she does use a rapier type of weapon, like Knight, but she's able to summon a Sentinel-esque weapon, too. So she has that versatility of using two different weapons. So, giving Femme the Air Light swap, Swashbuckler battle class, makes sense in my brain at least. Next is Kamen Rider Ryuga. Not Ryuki, Ryuga. So this one is just basically a black version of Ryuki. So this is just getting the Dark Knight battle class, similar to Knight, but more on the evil side of things. And then the next one is Kamen Rider Odin. Now this one was definitely interesting to classify. This is what ultimately I decided with. So this classification comes down because he's more of the god-esque rider in the series, and, well, his motif, a phoenix, kind of says it itself. So, for this classification, it is going to be Magic Fire Elite Boost, Magic Fire Swap Elite Boost Sorcerer. The Sorcerer aspect is because he deals with a lot of time abilities, henceforth the magic side of the swap, fire is because of the Phoenix. Phoenix is more of the mythical firebird, which fits both magic and fire. And then elite boost is just for that godlike aspect. So that's what I went with for Odin. Now there is one more Kamen Rider I will address, and it comes from Decade, similar to like Kuga Ultimate Rising. So Kamen Rider Abyss will be part of this list. And for him, we are giving it the War Brawler classification. War because, well, he's a blue shark. Kind of a given. And then his weapon's like a giant sharp gauntlet. So that's where the brawler aspect comes into play. And I believe that's all the Kamen Riders. I'm not doing Alternative Zero because, yes, he's a Kamen Rider, but he's not a Kamen Rider at the same time. If it doesn't have the name Kamen Rider in the name, he does not count as a Kamen Rider. So, there you go. That's my reasoning there. And then, yeah, I believe that's all the Kamen Riders from Kamen Rider Ryuki. You guys let me know what you would have done for all these riders. Leave a like if you like these videos. And until next time, we'll be covering Kamen Rider 5 in the next month. So, until then, take care.